Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today is a little bit of a different video. It's not the 365 Days of Forex series. However, we're here interviewing Matt from Matt to Million, who is a Forex trader documenting his journey on YouTube and Instagram. Without further ado, guys, let's get into today's video. Sweet. So, Matt, we might as well start off with who are you and sort of what's your trading journey been so far, and what got you actually into trading?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm Matt. I've been 29 years old, pretty average, as you said. Created the Matt to Million channel. More did that in sort of spring of last year, just to try and bring more of a grounded approach to trading and trying to give some decent quality, I guess, within the videos, where, you know, as you've seen, probably there's quite a lot of sort of sparkly things out there and maybe a few things that have been fabricated.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know, it'd be quite cool just to add the channel in and try and deliver some stuff, you know, that people can actually watch back and get something from. My background is, it's probably a bit slightly different actually than most. I mean, I completed A levels at school, so I did that as normal. But then I opted not to go to uni. I didn't do that. I ended up actually training to be a performer and
Nice.
a personal trainer. So I did that. I mean, you know, aside from that, personally, I just got recently engaged to my fiance in Miami,
Nice.
sort of about 18 months ago. So, cheers. Thanks a lot. Obviously COVID's put a bit of a delay on the old wedding plans. So who knows when that'll actually happen. I mean, that's pretty much it from me in terms of like background, personality. Trading is so how I got into trading, I guess, was the question, wasn't it? So that was, it was actually a good friend of mine introduced me to trading, right? So his dad was like a good investor, let's say. Like he worked, but he was an investor on the side, and he built up like a nice pot and whatnot. That obviously rubbed off onto my mate. So now back well over sort of 10 years ago, he sent me some websites because I showed a bit of interest to look at, to understand the whole trading, you know, CFDs, or what they were, like the investment landscape, all this kind of stuff. Yes, I mean, really that got me interested. I got more fascinated as time went on. I mean, I guess I got him to thank for that. Well, I mean, now anyway, you know, not so much when I was smashing phones into the ground and crashing monitors on the bad months.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, no, it was him basically that got me into it. And I mean, ironically, he didn't go down the day trading route. He's got a massive portfolio, like investment portfolio. But now he's like some, you know, hot shot commercial accountant, you know, working in the legal sector. So, you know, fair play to him.
Nice. Yeah, I think a lot of people who I speak to who are more, for want of a better term, sort of old money as such, people whose sort of families are big into investing and things like that, I tend to always find they'll sway away from day trading. I think because it's almost got this bad stigma of having this sort of shiny millionaire like lifestyle approach to it. With obviously a lot of it's not ultimately true, as you've probably seen yourself. But when you're sort of learning how to trade, did you use any sort of courses? Was there any mentors or educators that you used that you could maybe recommend? Or
it's a tricky one for me because, I mean, we're talking over 10 years ago. So, you know, when I started, there wasn't really any, well, not like there is now anyway. You know, when I was training, so when I was at college, you know, I'd be out from sort of 5 a.m, getting home at about 10 in the evening. And then I'd sort of be staying up till, you know, like 2 a.m. watching as many YouTube clips as possible, you know, like trying to build it up that way. Back when YouTube was like a different beast as well. So not the kind of massive platform that it is. But yeah, just basically trying to learn as much as possible from as many different people as possible, like strategies, chart setups, like even just the basic stuff like with candlestick patterns, things like that. And just as I understood it from, I've always been like keen on getting it from all different perspectives. So that's one way. I mean, again, back then, I mean, I was using like the local library. I mean, this is how old it was, you know. So there's like a lot of finance books and stuff, but there's very few trading related books. Because I remember going into my local library and I sort of said, you know, where can I find some books on like day trading or something around that? Just got a blank stare from the bloke on the desk. You know,
what's day trading?
Exactly. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, wow, you know. But yeah, no, it's funny looking back on it now. But you know, back then it really wasn't. I mean, now it's just so, whether you see it as a good industry or sort of a bit of a hoax, like it is so big now, and like most people kind of, especially in like millennial and younger, it's like a normal thing. Whereas back then, like we're talking, you know, it was just a real niche industry, like not really one that was there. I did buy one course. There was a show on BBC. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was like £1 Million Traders, something like that.
Was that the one with Anton Creel and Lex Van Dam?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
brilliant TV. Definitely recommend. That's on YouTube now. Actually, if anyone hasn't seen that, I'd definitely recommend watching it. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it was a cracker, and I mean, funny enough, I actually watched it back like a couple of months ago because I saw it on YouTube, and it's like really weird watching it because it looks so old now. You know, like how it's filmed and the grain on the. But yeah, no, it's really really good, and I sort of saw that. Anton Creel, I liked his attitude, very kind of like no nonsense. You know,
pretty cutthroat, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like city trader through and through. But yeah, obviously Lex Van Dam was the one that's like funding it. And then at the time when it was actually aired, he had like the Lex Van Dam Academy type thing. So that was the only course I really saw at that time. So I found it, I saved up for it, and then I bought it. So that was the only thing that's what I started with basically. So that was more like economic trading and stocks. So my foundation for years was basically trading like indices and stocks. So that's pretty much where I started. And then I did that for quite a while. I had to take some time out of trading in the middle few years since then and now, only due to some family issues, mental health problems, which obviously less than ideal. But then I came back at back 2019, basically was when I kicked back up again. And that was when obviously the industry shifted, a fair bit in those few years that I was out to more 100%. Towards like FX and MT4 screenshots and like all this sort of stuff. So I was like, that's it, yeah. So I was like, all right, cool. And then so I thought it would be a hoot because I was always dubious about FX, to be brutally honest. Like because I was stocks and indices, that was very like conventional, even though it was day trading, it was still, I felt like I knew what was happening there. FX, I'd always heard horror stories, and it was like some people could make some money one day and then they'd lose it all the next. And it's, anybody that's saying they can is lying, basically. So I thought, well, actually, I'm back in 2019. Obviously, I had the foundations for stocks. It wasn't like I was learning from scratch. I thought, well, why not add FX into the mix, basically? So that was when I did look at what was about now. Like I looked at different providers to see, what they would do that would be different from like a conventional day trading on indices or stocks and whatever. So I'm going to actually, there's YouTube coming up. I've been putting off doing it because I'm a bit apprehensive when you sort of review educators, because I know myself, like, people keep asking, oh, would you do a course or it's not something that's on my radar, purely because it's daunting. I mean, the thought of, I know you're doing the 365 days of Forex, right? And that, I can imagine that's quite tough going.
It takes a fair bit of time. Yeah. We're sort of blessed because we initially wrote all of the content for that last year during the lockdown. But it took sort of 6 months, basically, solid graft on evenings and weekends to get all that sorted. So it's a pretty big daunting task for sure. It
is. And also, like, even just the fact you're doing it on YouTube as well, like, I think people underestimate, actually, because I underestimated it before I started doing YouTube, just how long it takes to script everything out, get all the idea, because it's one thing knowing it and what you want to say, and another thing actually putting it together and then all filming it so as it doesn't look as though you're filming it in a shed, and you know what I mean? So it's really tricky. So I've got a newfound respect for anyone on YouTube, because it does take a long time to be able to do it. And that's why also with the courses, like, I think it's, if not more. So like you've kind of done that really with kind of the crash course on the 365. But for me, I think, well, and also just nobody is going to like it, in masses. There's always going to be people that are like, well, that was a waste of money, because they're thinking it's going to be a magic ticket to something,
100%. We found that a lot. Even with the 365 stuff, people, I think, still expect this sort of just lottery ticket number and predict a strategy that's going to just make them millionaires. But
that's it. And so I was always a bit apprehensive, but that's why I've got respect for people that build the courses, because even if it's not a good course, it's still probably taken quite a lot of time. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I am releasing the video. But I tried out a few different people. I wouldn't say any of, I probably won't mention the one that I thought was pretty dire. But I've tried out a few like mainstream ones that are up at the moment, like Falcon FX, like Gorilla Trading, Coben FX, found him. He's a wizard. Like I'm still yet to see somebody that is as good as him.
Really?
Course wise is a bit tricky. Just it's a bit fragmented in the way it's put together. But him as a trader, he's nuts. Like, his trade entries are just incredible. Like, he's, obviously you never know the full story, but judging from, I've followed him now for a little while, and you know, he's mustard really. And then yeah, like Team FX, I tried as well. But yeah, you know, some of them all got. The thing is, though, is I find that with any of the courses, is that it's a personality thing. Like people seem to think that you go to a course and then they will deliver the strategy, and then you'll be successful. But you know, I think it's always a bit tricky. So yeah, I've tried those guys purely for the FX side of things since coming back in 2019, basically.
Would you say, just out of curiosity, because I started with FX and then found a lot more success trading indices, still day trading. Do you feel like it was easier trading stocks and indices, or would you say it was easier trading FX in terms of not just identifying setups, but maybe even consistency and stuff like that? What would you feel would be easier, especially for a beginner?
I mean, yes. I mean, it's hard for a beginner because I'd be biased because I obviously started with indices and stocks,
Yes.
so that would be my comfort zone. I mean, it is my comfort zone. I mean, like if you look, I mean, I'm not shy about it on because Instagram, I post the daily trade.
Yeah. I've been following that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you see, it's probably 80% of my profit is indices, 20% is FX, and if you look at the average profit on an indice, like I think my average on an indice is between sort of 7 or 8 are over like the last 6 months, and then on FX it's under half that. So I find it a lot trickier to manage the trade. I find it a lot easier to. I just find it's a lot more choppy. It's a lot more up, down, up, down. And I know a lot of people say that of indices, but then maybe it's just because I've traded them more. But I do think that indices, or I also think indices as well, is that whether you want to be a day trader or like an intraday trader, or if you want to be a swing trader, it works for both.
Agreed.
Although FX, it does have that capability, I do feel that you tend to get wicked out more on FX than you do on indices. That's my opinion.
Yeah,
you know, if you're good on your entries. So that's my 2 pence worth. Anyway, that's not to say that you should or shouldn't trade one or the other, but
yeah, I think I feel the same in terms of indices. I feel, not to give anyone false hope or don't sort of hold on this, but I personally feel it's a lot easier to read the markets in terms of indices. I think they're more predictable. I think you can often tell when they're going to sort of just kill themselves. Whereas Forex pairs, for me personally, I just find are so much less reliable.
Yeah.
Obviously, the main advantage of Forex is it's a lot easier to get into as a beginner because there's much more leveraged CFD accounts. There's obviously the contract size on indices mean you can't just start with like 200 or 300 quid. You've usually got to have a couple of thousand in the accounts. So yeah, I think for me, definitely, I know when I first started, it was when I transitioned from trading FX. I used to trade a fib strategy.
Yep.
I still actually trade that on FX pairs as well. But then I started trading with the Bollinger Band system on US 30, and profitability on that was so much higher than FX pairs. And I found, as you're saying, it was much easier to read the markets and you weren't getting wicked out every time. But yeah, would relate to you on that front for sure.
Yeah, it's weird though, because there's a lot of people out there that think indices are dangerous. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like one thing I would say is that, you know, like my favorite, well, I wouldn't say favorite now, but one that I would say is the most consistent to trade on is the FTSE, in the sense that it's not major swings, like, and there's, you know, so you're unlikely to make as much, or you need to get better entries, but there's less volatility overall. And then if you swing to like the Dow, for, you know, there's huge ranges in that. So even just in one day, you could make a hell of a lot of money if you understand how it moves. But I could appreciate, you know, it is much more choppy in comparison to some indices. So, you know, like they can be tricky at times. But yeah, like you say, so once you get to understand how they kind of move, and you understand what the behaviors are like and how they are, because I find them quite range bound. That's one thing that I quite like about them. You know, and everybody says don't trade ranges, always trade with the trend and all this. And I think, well, yeah, but if you've got a range of 1,000, 2,000 pips, it's, you know, like, and it sticks to it and it respects the lines pretty much all the time. And I think, you know, I mean, why not? I mean, that's what works at the moment. I'm sure that will change, but you know, it's a strange one, isn't it? Like the divide.
Yeah, I think there's definitely this sort of crazy divide. I mean, we did an interview that's going live tomorrow, actually, with a guy who just trades price action and doesn't use any indicators or anything like that. And he's the complete opposite. He can't seem to fathom he can't find trends in indices,
Really?
as well as FX. Obviously, I mean, you could still identify a trend, but he just couldn't find profitability in indices. But yeah, I completely agree, especially when I had a smaller account. That's exactly what I used to grow my account. I would just pick these tops and bottoms. I found there'd be ranging in there'd be almost like a trend-based range, if that is even a thing.
Yeah.
Quite a shallow channel of basically just ranging. And I would just pick tops and bottoms using these Bollinger Bands that I would trade with. and built, as you say, and pull crazy R trades that would grow your account by, say, I don't know, 10, 15% in one position. That would be, and you could do it quite, I mean, I used to log on after work and trade on US 30 and regularly be able to do sort of like 5 or 6% in the evening with relatively low risk in the market. So it was, no, I definitely agree with you on that front. I would definitely recommend, I mean, I always say this to any beginner who's struggling to trade Forex, try and trade indices and see if you can have a bit more success. On the stocks front, I've never really tried to trade stocks, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they're different. Yeah, I mean, I mean, I know there's technical. I mean, because I basically am price action as well, so I don't really use any indicators other than on FX actually and I only really find that the lower time frames are any good for me. I don't. Sometimes the higher ones are okay, but and then I'll use a fib on that. But the rest of the time it's pretty much just markups and there's no kind of like technicals involved.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one with stocks because they're different. They're kind of like you're looking at things as businesses and fundamental moves as a result, and there are different aspects. I think that it's more a value based thing. I think people that can day trade stocks, like as in within minutes and half hour, hours, then they're a different beast. Like I think that's incredible. But you can earn a lot of money from stocks if you're looking for holds over like sort of 2 or 3 months maybe. But it's basically been a garage sale like last year. Do you know what I mean? Like it was anybody could have made money on that, except people seem to just keep it's like it's amazing when that happens, people start selling and it's kind of like it literally is, you're literally selling to people that are just going to make a huge amount of money to it, over the next, because if you look at the recovery, it took less than 3 months, and it's yes, we could drop again for sure, but then that's another opportunity. I mean, if you're thinking 3 months or even 30 years, it's more the timing. But you're never going to get one where you're like, okay, 2 pips stop on Apple. I mean, it's unlikely that's going to get you anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we actually had a conversation with a guy called Pete who runs a channel purely about investing, doesn't touch much on trade, to be honest. And we had quite an interesting conversation about the fact that in sort of day trading or even trading on a sort of inter-week basis, the idea of being 5% down in one position seems absolutely ridiculous. Whereas on the stock, it's quite normal to look at your portfolio and be down 5 or 6%. So I definitely think there's, as you're saying, it's a whole different beast being able to trade that and be able to do sort of a value appraisal of a business quickly and understand all the different fundamentals, which is probably why I have always steered away from it, because for I've got a pretty good understanding of economics now, just due to the fact that my business partner he's in his 3rd year of an economics and finance degree, so I sort of get a bit of that filters into sort of some of the stuff that we do anyway. But again, I sort of don't think as an individual I'm that talented on that front yet. So I'm yet to venture into the stocks, but maybe I'll start trading higher liquidity stocks.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, I think because I run a portfolio alongside now, so I don't really day trade this. I mean, I'll day trade more buoyant stocks. But yeah, the investment one, I think, it's you could definitely do that on a lower scale and get used to it. But as you say, sometimes you could be down 10% in a week, but then the following week you're up 20, and because you don't have the same you're not getting margin calls or anything. It's actually just full cash in there. It is quite a but you have to if you're going to start it out, you look for more 20-year return rather than like 2-day.
Yeah, I think that's probably where most people go wrong. The amount of people I see messaging me on Instagram saying, "Oh, I'm in a position in Tesla that I opened yesterday. It's down 2%. Do you think I should close out?" I'm just like, it's not really the right approach. So you may be better off trading a more liquid asset than that if you're worried about that. But yeah, in terms of your trading, a big question that I get all the time personally, which I think would be quite good to ask yourself, is: do you think there was a point in your trading, be it with your stocks, be it with your FX, where everything sort of clicked, or was there something that you maybe did, or basically just a memorable moment where you felt like you transitioned from almost being like a punter into someone who actually sort of knew what they were doing, or was it more of a sort of smooth transition over a long period of time, do you think?
I mean, I would say, it was a transition. I think there were certain points, obviously, like where it was maybe more of a realization rather than it going, because it's hard to pinpoint like a turning point. There wasn't really like an aha moment. Do you know what I mean? For me, anyway. Because even now I get nervous on new months and on new years. And I still think I might bomb the whole lot. Do you know what I mean? Like it's I still have that inside of me that that fear of going broke, basically. But I mean, in terms of the eye openers for me, I mean, I remember because I used to work in a supermarket in a butchery as a part-time job, and it was at a point when I was like, I am generally making more money doing these on my small account, just day trading and making more than what I'm earning by putting in 9 hours, starting at 5 a.m. in a freezer, you know what I mean, and things like this. And that was kind of like, okay, hold on, like maybe, maybe that was when I started looking at it, and it was kind of more because I think it was one day I had the biggest profit I'd ever had, which was like £900. And at the time, that was like, whoa, like mind blowing. Bearing in mind, I would only earn like probably 300 or 400 quid a month from what I was doing. So this is like literally like 2 months plus pay. And I was thinking, damn, and it wasn't over leveraged. It wasn't reckless. It wasn't something, it was a structured trade. So it wasn't like I just gambled it.
Yeah,
and that's when I started. Yeah, exactly. And I actually started seriously considering it then as a stream of income. Not like I wasn't thinking, okay, I'm going to make loads and loads of money, but that perked my eyes up at that point for sure.
Nice. I think so. When you first started, obviously, I know a little bit from watching the YouTube channel anyway, but for those who haven't seen it, what was your sort of progression in terms of, overall, what is the sort of Matt to million idea? Did you start off on a small account and build up? How did you actually start that sort of the whole journey itself? Did you start with signals, for example, or how did you really get into trading on that front? Obviously, you mentioned your friend, but sort of going forward with that.
Yeah, I mean, when I came back in 2019, I was looking at FX to add to like what I was doing, so not just trading indices on their own and this and the other. I mean, I looked at signals, tried them on a couple of bits just to see, because you don't ever get offered signals on like indices or stocks. Do you know what I mean? It's always on FX for some reason. That's where people tend to make this money. So these are one of the things I thought when I was creating the channel. What I wanted to do was to basically take what I had learned and be able to demonstrate things openly, like do, at the moment I'm doing trade breakdowns, but on Instagram I tend to be as much as possible during the day, like posting analysis before taking anything, showing how I'm managing it through it, and then how it turns out. And I just, so I thought, well, let's try everything that's out there. So that's why I tried like 5 or 6 different courses to see, because for other people that are looking, those 5 courses probably cost, 1,500 quid maybe overall, and then FX signals on top, and some of them are monthly fees and all this sort of stuff. So I mean, I tried that. I tried the signals. Needless to say, it didn't work. But it was, it was interesting to see, because that was a new concept. There wasn't, before I came back in 19, there wasn't signals before that really. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't the thing. So, and when I came back, I was like, that's interesting. Let's see what happens. But for one reason or another, it wouldn't work. But for the Maximilian channel itself, I thought, okay, how like what can I do that would be able to interest people and be actually quite fun to do as well. And I'm not, there's nothing being sold or anything like that. So it's kind of just for people to be able to get that crash of information. So I started off with £1,000 in the account, and then just built that up sort of bit by bit, and then so basically the model was that I had £1,000, I'd make the profit on £1,000 account. I'd then pay to do the Ftmo challenge, go through the Ftmo challenge verification process, get the funded account, and then use the funded account to add into the personal account at the same time, and then keep compounding the personal account whilst doing the Ftmo account. So that's basically what I've structured, and that's what I'm presenting. So I mean, the ultimate goal is to obviously kind of hit the million relatively soon. But I mean, it's more about the process and the stuff throughout it. Like there's a lot of stuff where I think there's a lot of videos get put up about people, they either use buzzwords and they don't say what it is. And there's not really anything for people that are serious about it to really relate to. And I know full well, like if you look at my analytics, I've had, actually it's been really good in terms of the response and stuff. But if you look at the average view time, there's literally like a split between people that watch it, most of it, because they're obviously, actually trying to get the information. The other people where there's like nothing really to show off, and kind of loses interest. So, it's been interesting with that. I mean, the thing that I also wanted to put across, and that's what I'm building towards in the channel, is, and also going back to your kind of the turning point question, is more like, for a lot of the time, I was always trying to emulate someone else. Like I was, whether it was an investor, a day trader, someone I found online, there'll be someone else's strategy that they were posting. I'll be like, okay, great. Like this looks like the one, this is, they seem to do it day in, day out, no problem. And then each time I try, it kind of worked, but then it wasn't really much more successful mid or long term than anything else I'd done, before that at that time. So it was kind of just like, where, what can I do about this? And then that's when I kind of sat back and I was like, and I looked in to the bits that came naturally to me. So let's say, like one thing I'd look at on YouTube, and I'd be like, this guy's strategy is quite complex, or there's loads of bits going on, but there'd be one bit that I was like, Joe, what, that I get that, like, and I can see it quite easily. Like, it didn't, I'll try all these things for a few months to see, give it due time. But my thing was like, if it feels unnatural after months and you're still not getting anything from it, stop trying to be that person. Do you know what I mean? There's this thing of it being like one killer strategy that's like, once you find the holy grail, you will be rich. And it just isn't. Like, it's so based around personality. And that was a big turning point for me. And the kind of overestimation of somebody else, and seeing how they're doing it. But the reality is, it's for them, isn't it? Like, they can see it easier. The reason that is their strategy is because it's them. Like, whereas for you may, like, I know you've probably seen on my YouTube, I struggle to, it's not that I struggle to see shorts, but I struggle to take short positions. It just, I don't like it. So, and I don't know why, but these are just things. It's like, if you're with somebody that is constantly, their main strategy is on shorts, then that isn't going to sit well with me, is it? I mean, I can see how it can work, but it just doesn't, it just doesn't work. So yeah, I mean, it's it's interesting, really, because then that was when I sat back and was like, okay, what worked for me? And then I started going, okay, well, all of these people have put together these strategies, and let's say 70% of it, it doesn't sit well with me. So then I pick out all the best bits, and then I look at, okay, what worked for me in that strategy, what worked for me in this strategy, and then I've kind of like merged them together to like improve it over time. And I think that was a big turning point when I suddenly started trying to sort of use what I learned to create my own way of doing it. And then that was when I started seeing a lot more comfortable, like, consistent results. And it was just that is a bigger turning point than anything else. Like, making a big profit is one thing, or being consistent over a few months is another, but that was the one where you actually felt like I was in control of it, rather than, because what if the strategy doesn't work? Like, what if that stops working and you're just kind of screwed, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? You kind of, okay, great, but okay, what, like, where was it formed? Like, what was the foundation of it? You don't know. So I kind of think, like, with all the other stuff where you put it together, and also the other thing is, I'm rambling on a little bit, but like the other thing with the forex strategy is, like I said, is that you could get one person that trades really well and they make 10% a month, 15% a month, let's say. But then there's somebody over there that's making 10, 15% a month, trading completely differently. And it may not be taking opposite trades. So then the way I saw it was, okay, well, yeah, I could trade, but there's a lot of, I feel like the FX industry is split between two people at the moment. The FX industry of the person going, this is the holy grail of a strategy and you will be rich. And then the other people that are kind of like, yep, this is a strategy. Don't worry about making too much money. If you make 3%, that's great. If you make 4%, that's great. If it's a break-even month, that's still better than and I kind of think it's either one end or the other. And I think that there is this kind of element where people are like, yeah, if you stick to this strategy, you will consistently make around a few percent a month, and that you should be proud of that. You should be happy with that, and it's all about capital preservation, for example. But for me, I was kind of like, yeah, that's great, but that's not to say that there aren't multiples of these strategies out there. So therefore, you could end up on 5 times that a month. So that's how I sort of started building it out, and that would be my biggest thing, I think, like, for people starting, is get as much as you can from everyone, but don't commit to one and think that is the only, because you find that people get quite like defensive about the communities they're in. And I mean, like, so I know you want me to go with them, like, I've started with these guys now, and they've completely revolutionized. It's basically everything I learned in the other one, but it's all made sense now and it's all clicks, and that's great. But also there's probably parts that they still don't, I mean? So it's, you got to kind of pick the bits that work for you, and not get too kind of patriotic about an individual community or an individual strategy. That would be my biggest thing, because that's been a complete game changer for me, like, over time.
I think I definitely felt the same, actually, when I started. I sort of followed this guy on YouTube and tried to trade his strategy for so long, and I would sort of speak to traders who are way ahead on their journey compared to me, and be like, oh, maybe you should just try and trade this different strategy. I'll try this one. I was like, no, this guy is making loads of money. This is the strategy I'm going to stick to. And again, I think you're right in what you're saying. It's, you just put your blinkers on a little bit, don't you? And just sort of, you forget about exploring your options. I know definitely, again, for me, that was something that really benefited me. I sort of just try to take a shotgun approach at first. Once I actually started to make a little bit of cash, took a total shotgun approach, just try to absorb as much as I could. And then now my sort of 3 main strategies that I trade across different assets are probably accumulation of like 15 different trading strategies that I've either paid for in courses or watched on YouTube videos, or or one that I've actually got a strategy that I coded into a robot that I just thought of that would work. I've got one that I read an economics paper from this guy when I was researching some stuff for a YouTube video that works as well. So I think exactly, I think it's, you definitely can't become not sort of like loyal, I think is probably the wrong word, but yeah, not being patriotic to one person, especially I think it's quite hard when you've started with that person to start learning and you've sort of developed a lot. I think it's still really important to not only invest in like other courses and whatnot, but also in like different people's courses, because I know loads of people who will say you can't trade a break and retest strategy profitably, or you can't trade a fib strategy profitably, or indicators don't work, for example. All these different opinions, yet there's people doing all of those individual things like yourself. I was watching your trade breakdown yesterday, and you trade break and retest, and that is clearly working for you, whereas I personally couldn't trade a break and retest because I personally just couldn't get my head around it. But similarly, you might not be able to trade one of my strategies, and I think unless you know what you can and can't trade, you just sort of totally narrowing your options down. And I think that's where people try and over risk to compensate. Like you're saying, there'll be someone selling a strategy that has a 2 or 3% a month gain, and instead of doing the logical thing of making a portfolio of strategies, people just start risking 3 or 4% a position, and then that's when their accounts just blow up straight away, and they're sat there scratching their head wondering why.
Yeah, and there's also that aspect of people just not like they're apprehensive to do anything different, and they can't see any other way, of doing it. But a lot of people, like a lot of people ask, okay, when are you actually going to tell us your strategy as such? And it's like, well, I mean, this is the other thing. How can I put a course? Well, I could put a course together for sure, but me trying to because there's this thing in the market at the moment. I don't know if you feel it as well. That the selling point and the thing that everyone's looking for, or what they scrutinize people on, is going, well, there's too much discretion involved, or you just want one setup or two setups you apply every day. You just look for those ones, and I agree that that's how you would learn a setup, and how you would back test a setup, and you just focus on that one 100%. But there's this weird thing where it's like you couldn't possibly, if you have two, then that's too many, then they're lying. It's like there's that aspect, and I kind of think, well, so if you're trying to put together something, and it's very, very difficult for somebody to get the value that you've got, like you say, you got like maybe 15 different things that you're looking at as to what could be a setup. You could put that in paper and you could put that in a course, but ultimately most people don't want to learn 15 different things. They want to learn one thing and think that that's going to make them a load of money, and that's why I'm always a bit apprehensive with those sorts of things. But yeah, there's definitely something in the industry at the moment that is, it's like, it's cooler if you just have one strategy, and it's like, okay, great, but as you say, everybody's got one, so if you learn everybody's, then there's a lot more money out there.
Exactly. I think people also get like loyal to trading one asset, and like we were saying earlier on in the interview, like people often, I think, neglect the other less glamorous assets. But I think people think about day trading, they'll instantly think forex. Like no one thinks, or stock if they're maybe not cut in the industry at all. But I think again, people neglect things like indices, commodities, and stuff. And if they don't neglect them, I think people often make the mistake of just running the market without actually understanding. Like the amount of people I speak to online who trade indices who haven't got a clue what an index is it's ridiculous. If I had a pound for it, I wouldn't need to trade ever again. But and you just think, I think that's also what people sometimes forget, and I think that's where you've probably been sort of had a really good start with it, because the thing that often puts me off encouraging beginners to trade stocks is they haven't had an understanding of value in a business, looking at their sort of quarterly reports, things like that. I think actually having that analytical approach and being able to do that, it'll put you in so much better stead for trading forex, because the amount of people you see just, they don't know what the news calendar is. They're not looking at anything throughout the day and just sort of blindly looking at a position that remotely fills their criteria. I think it's probably the biggest reason why people don't make money, because I mean, I'm a pretty firm advocate that anyone can make money trading, but like 95% of people just can't be bothered. Like you're saying, they just want one strategy that they'll sit there and basically just be like a portable cash point on their desk that they can just buy a Lamborghini from.
Well, it's lifestyle as well, isn't it? I think that's the other thing that people underestimate, is that it's the lifestyle that you need to work around. Like some people are working full time, some people are working part time, some people are just graduates, some people are at uni where they, maybe they've got time during the day. But yeah, like time frames is a big one, types of movements, how long you're going to hold, all of that is affected by so it's all well and good learning sort of a scalping strategy, but if you're once lockdown's over and you're back in an office 9 till 5 and you're in meetings most of the time, it's a waste of time, isn't it? Like you could have learned a great skill, but so it's definitely there's definitely a lot more components to it than what what most people let on. And I think, because that was one thing for me as well, that I just with trading in general, is that, luckily I started quite a while ago, so all of this stuff has built up. But now when I see these things of people kind of managing to go from zero to hero in like 12 weeks, is it possible? Yeah, I mean, you can definitely get the knowledge, and if there's a strat, like if you have learned one strategy and it does work for now, then great. But yeah, I do think that there's an underestimation for most people as to just how much work and commitment it is on it.
I think that's so true. And I mean, I don't know whether how much I've mentioned it in previous videos. I think I've mentioned it in a couple, but I work 4 days a week as a civil engineer as part of a degree apprenticeship and study a degree as well. So I've got a pretty hectic lifestyle alongside like sort of actually having a life and maintaining some form of relationships with family and my missus. But I think for me, when I started, that was one thing I made a massive mistake with. I would look at these sort of glamorous scalping strategies that would be on the 1 minute time frame, and I'd be driving on to work, for example, going to meet someone on site on a sort of new highways project or whatever. And I'd be having to pull the car over constantly because I'd get these trading view alerts, and it'd be on the trade on the 1 minute chart. It just was not viable in any way, shape, or form. And I'd be sat at home at night time, like sort of scratching my head, thinking, "Oh, do I just quit my job and try and do this full time, or what?" And I was like, "Well, not." And then, as you're saying, I just realised that, well, realistically, if I just would go on the hourly time frame, or it was actually the 4 hourly time frame when I was trading on, it was so much more manageable. And yes, I would sacrifice what I could make on a monthly basis, but it was that sacrifice that had to be made because it just fit the circumstance. And yeah, it's probably quite worrying the amount of people that you see in these lockdowns now who maybe on furlough, who are trading sort of all day, every day, who are then going to sort of really struggle when they have to go back to work in an office, or even worse, if they're working like, I don't know, a factory or something, and they literally can't have access to a computer. But
the full-time thing is another sort of a glamorized thing, isn't it? Like everyone's like almost trying to trade full-time, whereas I mean I don't either, like I consult in London, and this kind of stuff has always been interesting. But actually I found that, because I was full-time for probably about sort of 4 years, is that actually when now being, let's say, a part-time, I don't think you're ever a part-time trader, are you? Because there's so many sessions and God knows what else, and apps that you can keep, like keeping an eye out. But I don't think that the goal to be a full-time trader, like what does it achieve? Yes, you could, like you say, maybe trade more scalping strategies, lower time frames, but I don't want to spend my life just constantly in front of a chart and then getting in and out that quick. And I think that there's this thing of, like, I've got no intention, like why would you want to go for like use that part-time with the amount, because I find that I can earn more money part-time than full-time, because sometimes you start over analyzing.
100%. I completely agree. My trading profitability went down when we went to, because I work from home at the minute because I'm not office based anymore. And my profitability went down because I had so much more time to sit and I'd be like, I'd be doing a design work on one screen. I'd be like sat on my phone looking constantly, like trying to figure out how to micromanage the positions and stuff like that. So I had to really have a sit down myself and sort of think about it, because I completely agree. The more time you've got, it actually can sometimes be a lot harder to trade.
And I agree. And I think that, usually what you do when you go full time is just do different things, not trade in live, so it's, I mean, definitely the schedule's hectic at the moment for sure, especially with YouTube and whatnot. But yeah, in terms of actual trading, I think, people need to, especially when they're starting out, is maybe don't worry about going full time. Get to a point where you just are comfortable with it. And because it's also mentally draining. I just think doing that day, I think people think there's this thing where it's seen as like a side hustle or whatever that, that kind of thing, and it isn't. It's essentially as hard as any other, well, harder, I'd say, than
I would agree.
And it takes a lot of it drains you out, a hell of a lot. So, and I think people underestimate that, and it should be more a case of just seeing how you get on with it, rather than thinking, I want to be this full-time trader, and thinking that you're gonna, I just think you got to choose what's right for you.
Yeah, I agree, because I always had this. I mean, I've said this from day one, and I'll say it until the day I stop trading. I didn't start trading to make myself another full-time job. I started trading to make some more money on the side, and whether that money now is more than what I make from working full-time or whatever, I didn't do it to sit in front of a chart all day, because yes, I do love trading, I love being on the charts. Like, there is a point at which I think life is more important than sitting in front of a screen and staring at candlesticks printing out. So I think, completely agree with you on that. And I think there is this sort of glamorization from some of the bigger traders on YouTube, Instagram, or the social media platforms living the full-time trader lifestyle, and they are trading full-time. Obviously, they aren't sort of lying about it, but I think maybe they should be sort of explaining more about the stresses of doing that, because again, even for example, if you've got, I mean, I have very few responsibilities in terms of finances, but if you've got sort of kids and stuff and you're trying to trade full time and you've got a house to pay for and you have a bad month, and if you've not got that sort of savings pot, or you lose your FTMO, for example, due to a complete accident of placing a stop wrong or something, I think people underestimate the sort of stress of that whole experience. So yeah, I completely agree. I think that maybe it's glamorized a bit too much, and maybe the full-time trader lifestyle needs to be supplemented by some sort of signals group that's making them a sort of 10, 15 grand a month passively, or to remove that stress. But I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it works for some people and it doesn't for others. So I think, yeah, you're right. You've got to sort of set your priorities out straight and make sure you're doing what's right for you.
Yeah.
So in terms of actually mentioning FTMO, so you're currently trading on FTMO. What's your experience? I actually used to have an FTMO account. Got it in February 2020. I purely took the challenge. I was trading my own capital. I had £35,000 in the account of my own money and was trading it. And then a student of mine pestered us to take the challenge to see if I could do it. Took the challenge and then started producing the course content and whatever. So I actually sort of forfeited the account after 2 months. And now I'm going back to trade my own capital on automated trading systems, actually, to free up even more time. So what's your experience at FTMO? Obviously, I know they recently changed servers, I do believe. I don't know whether you had the account during that period or...
Yeah, they've done a couple now, because back when, because I did mine probably a few months after when you did yours then, the first one anyway. And then they changed servers that bettered the spreads from that point. And then just recently they've changed again to incorporate stocks. So they adjusted the, well, for me, that probably was effectively and they adjusted the indices, so you only had close only positions on the old indices, let's say, and then their cash variance now. I mean, my experience is good. I mean, I'm pretty open about the fact that I'm a personal account trader first. You know, I think prop firms are great, and I've got a video coming out soon about a couple of the latest advancements in the prop area that are exciting. Yeah, and I think they're good, and I think they are really good for people that don't have the capital. My one thing, I would say is I'm more swing trader, in terms of where I sit most comfortably. Lately, I've managed to find things that work very well intraday. But in terms of if I'm thinking long term, this may work now, but intraday does sort of fluctuate a little bit. Swing trades have always been good for me. So I'm talking the last 10 years, so that it's a restriction on FTMO with that. The news, the one thing I don't like about the news thing is that NFP, for example, isn't what it used to be. NFP maybe 6 years ago or 7 years ago, or even just a few years ago, it used to really rattle the market, and it used to give some massive spikes, and you could be catastrophic. Whereas now, it doesn't really affect it. You know what I mean? So I just think, yes, it is I can understand why they put it in there, and obviously they're a business and they've got to protect. And I think it's a smart move for them. But I just mean, for me personally, I don't like the idea that if I'm in the position, which you can be, but obviously you just can't get stopped out or your TP taken. And it's crazy to think that if your TP got taken out during that news period, you still lose your account. And so there's little things there. But to be honest, so I'd say probably I don't take all the trades that I take on FTMO. So I've got a trade copier, but I don't take. There's certain ones that I'll only take on my personal. You can't. I mean, you can scale the FTMO account, but you can't compound it in the same way that you can compound a personal account. So that's another thing. But ultimately, I think they're great. I think they're a really good option. I think the biggest issue that a lot of people fall into is that people that are new to trading that want to do the FTMO, they save to do the FTMO rather than build profit to do the FTMO. So my thing is get £1,000, save £1,000. Because it's only going to be a few £100 more than actually taking the challenge. So save £1,000, build that £1,000 up by 40%, 50% to allow you to pay for the challenge. If you're able to build your personal capital enough to afford the challenge, then take it. Because a lot of people don't really, they kind of save £500, put it into the challenge, and then it's kind of and they don't think they've really lost the 500 in the same way, but it's still your capital in there. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, I think overall it's good. I like the setup. It is very slick. I've had very, very few issues, if any. I mean, like a couple in terms of withdrawal amounts, but the customer service is really quick. So it's not, it's not a big, I think they're great. And there's some exciting stuff coming from Funding Talent next month as well, which is interesting with the ability to hold over weekends and
Really, that should be interesting, because that's our main issue at the minute with our system that we've coded. It holds positions over the weekend, so we've had to go back to trading our own capital with it, sort of basically forced our hands to do that. So that'll be really interesting for us, because that is our sort of main limiting factor at the minute, and we were looking to have to go external with the funding to sort of to more sophisticated investors rather than just commercial sort of.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, anything with Funding Talent is they don't as a blanket accept TAs on the account. But they have said, like, if you speak to them about it, they'll review it. Yeah, but as a general rule, it's a no. But you never know, like in terms of what it is. But overall, I think they're brilliant for the industry. For people that generally are in a good position with their trading, but just don't have. They don't, because it's hard to get the same. Like for me, it's a bit different now. But when you're first starting out, it's hard to get excited about earning. You could earn 10% and earn 100 quid. It's like, oh, brilliant. But if you saw it, 10 grand, you're like, oh, that's brilliant. So it does really affect your mentality a little bit. So I think it's really good. And also just in terms of building the pot, there's pros and cons to it, but ultimately it is a pro, I think, overall. So yeah, I mean, I'd definitely recommend them. I wouldn't not.
I think the one thing for me personally that it's very linked to what you said about the saving up for an account and then just blowing the account. I've had so many conversations with students of mine who've said, oh, well, I often refer to Ftmo now as ftmo.org and say, just call it the Ftmo charity, because I think people just think it's like a get rich quick website. And I always try and say to people, look, if you've got 500 quid, £600, test your system out thoroughly live, because if you lose 10 positions, you're not going to lose all the money, providing you're obviously risking appropriately. You're going to have 540 quid, for example, left if you're risking 1% and not rebalancing. Whereas if you blow the Ftmo account, you've lost 540 quid.
100% of that account in theory. Yeah,
exactly. Mental. And I think that's. I think maybe Ftmo do it as obviously, as you're saying, they're a business. It's in their interest for people to be taking challenges, but I do think some of the restrictions are a little bit over restrictive, and that's one thing that I found caused me not to be overly bothered about not trading on the Ftmo account anymore, because again, I think it removed, for me personally, trading was all about not freedom in a sense of my own trades, but I wanted to be able to be in control of my own account. I think Ftmo sort of turned you from a trader into more of an employee for them, which essentially is what you are. You're a contractor for them, but yeah, I think that just didn't really agree with my sort of standpoint. But again, I think it's a great opportunity for people who haven't got, because I think you can make quite a good income from £5,000 or £6,000 a trading account if you're risking sort of 2 or 3% and you've got the right sort of risk reward ratio on your positions and a good strike rate. But again, I think it's definitely a viable option. But I mean, we've seen students join our group have done sort of 3 or 4 months of hard graft and have then got funded with 100k and are doing sort of £4,000 or £5,000 a month withdrawals, and it's like insane. But
I think it is good. I mean, like, and that's why I've still stuck with it. And I think with the latest Funding Talent stuff, I'm dead keen on that. Maxing out the options, because I think for me, especially with now trade copiers about, it makes life a lot easier. And like I said, it's irritating more than it is like bad. Like it's annoying that I have to only take 30% just on my personal account, and I wouldn't take that on an Ftmo. But like you say, that the reality is like, imagine if you max out both, like as in you would have access to 600k worth of capital, yes, under fair amount of restriction in terms of drawdown and stuff. I mean, it sort of swings and roundabouts, because I do think that there are traders there that need those trading objectives because they actually make them trade better, because otherwise they would probably blow the account. But for the people that are more kind of, because it's annoying that you can't, because you can compound the Funding Talent one, but with Ftmo, like, because it's only the scaling option, you can only really sort of up your lots, once you hit that 25% increase and whatnot. So, but yeah, I mean, overall, I think they're, I'm all for them, and they're great, because it's almost like you're taking the same trades as you would on your personal account, and they're also being mirrored on Ftmo. Yes, you only get 70% cut, but that's still a fair chunk, on that. So
it's a 70. Well, it's usually 70% of a hell of a lot more cash than what you can afford to be putting in the account. And I always say to people as well, like, because a lot of the students in my group will often whinge about that 10% drawdown is it's crazy. Or 10% a month is crazy. That's a huge amount. But I always just say to people, if you've got 100 grand in your bank account, I'm pretty sure you would have much stricter requirements for people to trade with.
Exactly.
You've never met someone before, they've just stumbled across your website from a Facebook ad, and now they're asking for £100,000 of your cash. So I think, again, I think they're pretty sensible with their restrictions, but I think I think it's just the sort of, you've got to just suck it up, haven't you? If you want access to that sort of cash, you've got to either get FCA regulated and do it that way, or
Absolutely.
have rich parents or a good job. I think that's the only sort of options. But that cup puts my smallish bottle to shame. That is a massive cup.
It's a Stein. That is
nice. I need to get one of them when I'm sat at the desk all day.
Little special, that is.
But yeah, I'm conscious of time. I don't want to keep you all Sunday because it is the weather's remotely nice compared to what it's been like for the last week or two. But I think to wrap up, you obviously allude to it a lot on your channel, but where do you see yourself with your trading over sort of 1, 3, and 5 years, for example? Where would you like to be in that sort of time scale?
I mean, well, just now, well, you've probably seen on Instagram anyway. So, I mean, for this year, I'll just be plugging away because I'm rebuilding the account. We've been fortunate enough to get a house, so hopefully we're moving into that in 4 weeks or so.
Nice.
So it'd be nice to have actually a designated office rather than being in this two bed, like very small 2-bed flat. I mean, 2 years. So I mean, 2 years. I'd be hoping to get close to the million. To be quite honest, I think that with what's some of the adjustments that I've made over time, I don't get. It's a weird industry as well. Like I feel that I had an absolutely blinded month in January, but I actually felt embarrassed to post it because I think that like I said, there's the group of a group of traders that are very much like, it's impossible to earn loads of money. So if you earn 5%, you're then a real trader because you're honest. It's almost like if you earn less, you're honest. It's like, well, that isn't the case. I mean, it's whilst I agree that £1 million in a day, unless you've got £100 million account, is a bit unrealistic. But generally speaking, the percent returns and stuff. Because that's the other thing, isn't it? I found I always used to compare myself to other people's balances and returns, and that was one thing that was like a massive issue for me for a long time. And then you forget it's a percentage game, and you forget that actually, because there's always going to be some guy earning an extra 0 or 2 zeros or 3 zeros. That's not going to change. But equally, I think people underestimate like the ability of building up a small account and actually what can be done over like 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, which isn't actually relatively a long period of time. But if you spend that 12 months constantly trying to, because when I first started, it was very much like that, like trying to go for the this will make me a millionaire sort of trade, the humdinger. And you end up going through these emotional roller coasters, and you probably end up making the same amount at the end of the year through massive profits and quite a few wipeouts as you would if you'd just gone steady, throughout the whole thing and just treated it normal. And I think so for me, one of the key things that I've implemented through the years is actually looking at it more as like a hobby, like an interest, a passion, where I'm doing it steadily rather than trying to go for those big figures. Because, actually a lot of people don't realize how quick it can build. So whilst I think a lot of people be like, he's going to make £1 million in 2 years. It's optimistic, but not unrealistic. Like I'm under no illusion that it's still a tough task. What my point is even if I'm half close to that, it's still, it's still a reason to inspire people. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you failed if you've not done that. And I think people also underestimate the fact that, yes, it's unrealistic when you're looking at £1,000, £10,000, but when your account is at 6 figures, like 100,000, and I'd say even at 50, things start getting much sexier. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can do some real damage on a 50k account. And when you start getting in there and you're thinking, okay, 100k account, 200k account, 300, it seems a lot more realistic to be hitting that million. So it's the hard part is getting it from the 1 or the 10 up to the 100, in my opinion. But I used to be quite coy about it, and I was thinking, I'm probably going to get a load of bad people like, it's just another one of these clowns. But my thing is like trying to break it down. You know what I mean? Like trying to see, and I do genuinely believe that in 2 years it will be close. Whether it's whether I've actually achieved 1 million, who knows? But that the rate that it's going, the way I plan on compounding the accounts and the tiered risk management strategy I've got. So that's the goal in 2 years, and then in 5, I mean,
what we're talking, put a big number out there. What we're thinking after a million after 2.
Well, so yeah, after one year, I reckon I'll definitely be on six figures. I reckon
Yeah.
that'd be possible, given that I've already got the FTMO accounts, and
Yeah, of
hopefully
course.
with funding talent. Like, if you had to still get the FTMO account, obviously that knocks about 2 months out,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to wait for the first payment and all the rest of it. But as I've got that, because I'll do a video on that soon as well. But if you consider, like, even you just trade your normal account on the 1,000, and you make, let's say you make 10% a month, even if you've only got one FTMO account, that's what, $10,000, you know, minus their thing, 7,000 minus conversion. Either way, you're making about 60 grand a year regardless. So, you know, whilst you're compounding that, it's not actually that hard to achieve that. So 1 year would be sort of 100K mark. 2 years would be the million, and then 5 years, multiple sort of seven figures. So, you know, 5 years ago would be probably 5 million would be, I'd like to get to that point, and then that to be where it stays. And then from that point, all profits don't get reinvested into the trading account. They get invested into other bits. And then my goal ultimately is like 12 years, is to just, you know, to have all the money put somewhere where I don't have to do anything anymore. You know, I don't have to work. So that's the ultimate goal. I mean, I don't know what that, you know, what that exactly looks like. You know, at the moment I'm building a dividend portfolio and a growth portfolio and stuff, and, well, you know, looking to get into property as well, sort of next year, depending on, you know, this year, depending on how the market goes, with sort of investments and buy-to-lets and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, let's see. I mean, it's a tough world. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the moment, you know, I'm just grateful for, you know, where I'm at, and if I get that, then great. This is the other thing, I think people put too much on it. It's like, okay, yeah, you said this. Oh, you must be, you know, livid if you don't do this. You don't. I don't, honestly. I couldn't care less. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm not, you know, putting myself in poverty, and I'm still, you know, halfway along the thing. I mean, at the end of the day, having big goals isn't a crime. And it's not like I'm getting people to pay me money to go on the same journey with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm saying do this and you'll become this in 2 years. I'm just showing what I think can be possible. And that's what I think on the Instagram now. I'm going to do the 1K account just on its own, just so people can get a realistic idea of what you could do in 12 months with just 1K, no FTMO, no nothing. One where I'm building the 1K with the FTMOs, and then also just logging the FTMOs as well. Because some people do just like seeing big profits, you know, even though
just like big numbers, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's it pretty much. But let's see how it goes, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's, especially just quickly touching back on the sort of publishing big percentages on a monthly basis. I mean, I don't know whether you saw, we post our weekly results from our trading robot on the Instagram, and I think that did 38% in 6 weeks. And the amount of people who messaged and said, "Oh, it must be a scam. What's this all about?" And I put a story on, people saying, "Oh, can I buy it? Is this not it?" And I think because we're not selling it, people aren't as sort of probably judgmental is probably the right word. But again, I totally understand what you're saying. The amount of traders who I speak on a regular basis who've messaged and like, "Oh, this is never going to work. This is a load of bollocks." And I think you've got to sometimes come back to them, especially with what we're doing with the automated side of stuff. I just ask them, if you can make 12% a month and you're trading 8 hours a day, our robot never switches off. It doesn't get tired, doesn't get psychologically worn out. It's running constantly. So yeah, I think there's definitely this stigma online of anyone who makes more than 3 or 4% a month is a scammer, or they're going to try and sell you something. And I think trying to break down that barrier, they'll definitely, especially
they're not that way if they see the figure on a small account, though. That's the other thing.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. If you see somebody making 50 quid on £1,000 account, you know, people are like, "All right, great. Yeah, that seems, you know, like good luck to him." But actually, you know, it's 5%. So, you know, people just don't get it. I think that's the other thing, is saying, you know, what would you class as a modest profit? And most people probably say, I don't know, what, 4 or 5% in a trade, let's say. And then you say, okay, let's say your win rate is 60%. Do you know what I mean? And then you figure that actually, what does that actually mean? You know, if you took X amount of trades, you know, but yeah, there is. I mean, but also at the same time, I mean, this is what I've learned by even just going on socials. I've been pretty on staying in my own lane. Do you know what I mean? I don't promote my Instagram account or in any way like that. YouTube is completely organic, so it's like people only follow that want to follow, and hopefully they do see what I'm about and what I'm doing. And then, like you said, when you're not selling it, people maybe take a different view on it. You know, because what's the benefit of you saying, "Yeah, listen, I've got this the EA trading up and running. I'm making 100% a month on average, but you're not selling it. You know, like what's the point? I mean, like the only point you're doing it is just to share it with people, isn't it? So it's
exactly. That was sort of my point back to people. I was like, I'm not selling it, so why? Well, it's more effort for me to make this up. Someone claimed I was photoshopping the results, and there's all sorts of crazy things. I was like, it's more effort for me to do that than just enough, because I never published trading results from discretionary or even my own personal trading until now, because I found that, as you're saying, people were never happy with what you posted.
No.
If, for example, I had a good month on my account and did 6 grand, for example, did like over 10%, people like, demo account, this has got demo account written all over it. And then you publish a result where you're down like 1%, and people are like, oh, come on, man, you'll get that back next month. It's like, hold on, you said it was a demo account last month. It's like,
exactly.
Well, I think the social media, I think, is just completely screwed, I think. But hopefully with people like yourself, and hopefully the 365 days of Forex and stuff, it'll sort of hopefully pivot the space into a bit more of an honest and transparent industry. But I think maybe a bit hopeful.
It generally is a place where you can earn a lot of money, and I think people are scared to say that, but then also too scared to like go the opposite way as well. It's almost like, let's just, if you say that you can make it, because so many people have said you can that are fake, then it's seen as anybody that says it is fake, and it's, that's not the case. And it's so it's just a really weird industry, isn't it? And also people just kind of, people come up with all sorts when they're, their opinions on chart setups and their opinions on this. And I think, good. I mean, you got to have your own opinion. I'm literally just putting, or we are just putting what we want to put up in, and people can choose whether to engage or not.
Yeah, that's what I always say to people. The beauty of the free world and life in general is you can choose what you want to consume, what you don't. And if you don't like what a post, don't follow us. And I think that's the general. I think that's one thing that people often forget. And I think, as you're saying, it's probably a lot down to people having Forex and trading and drop shipping and Amazon FBA rammed down the throats for the past year and a half, 2 years with Instagram adverts and stuff. I think it's probably got a lot to say for it. But hopefully, especially with the FCA coming in, another big signal provider got put on the FCA watch list yesterday. And hopefully with that progression, hopefully the industry will pivot a little bit, and people will be able to take people's word for a bit more more gospel.
And people aren't able to, it's just for people not to be able to get away with that kind of like marketing hysteria, isn't it, basically? And so that, because it's been easy up until now, you didn't, it's a shame, because then the people that are genuine, there's a lot more hoops to go through. And I think, like, for example, on Instagram, it's tough. People following 4,000 or 5,000 people at once, they don't really see the accounts that they're following. So in terms of getting like interaction, which is why I quite like mine, in the sense that, it's only on like 800 followers, but the people, but in terms of the messages I have and regular conversations I have, it's actually quite a good proportion of those people. And I'd rather have like an interactive one at this stage, because then you look at some of those Forex companies like 120,000, 180,000 followers. You're like, how did you even achieve? That's if they didn't buy the followers as well. As it's hard to know, but so it's a funny industry.
It is. Hopefully you'll see a bit of change, but I think I think it'll be cyclical. There's always a demand for people to get rich quick, and people will always be there to provide some sort of charlatan opportunity for them to do that. But if people want to find your Instagram, obviously I know you said you don't promote it, but people will want to follow you, because it's probably been one of the best interviews, I think, especially for beginners who are looking to get into trade. And I think it's been great, and I really appreciate you coming on. How can people get in touch? Obviously, we'll link the Instagram. I'll remind myself now, we'll get the Instagram somewhere over here and the YouTube somewhere on the screen, thanks to the beauty of editing. But how can people get in touch with you and all that sort of stuff? What are your contact details as such?
The Instagram is @Matt2Million. YouTube as well is the Matt2Million YouTube channel. Contact wise, email I'm on as well. So I've got matt@matt2million.co.uk now as well. So for when people want to reach out,
awesome.
Anytime.
Nice one. Well, thank you so much for coming on the channel. Hopefully, I'll make an appearance on your channel at some point in the future with the big fat, with the EA profits. I'm sure people will say in the comments that they're not true, but it is what it is. But yeah, man, thank you very much for coming on the channel, and we'll hope to have you on again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Cheers, Jack.
Cheers, man.
Take it easy.